Hello friends, and welcome to today's project of making homemade coffee gelato. I'll show you how to make smooth gelato packed with flavor. But first, in order to do so, I will need to explain and show you a few things. Starting with a machine called the Pacojet. In almost every professional fine dining restaurant kitchen or hotel kitchen, they would most likely have a device like this. A Pacojet is a Swiss-made machine that comes with a specially designed blade that attaches like this on the underside with a rubber seal. This blade is connected with a magnet and will spin downwards. You would fill your mixture up to the line and freeze the product. Freeze it for about 24 hours into a solid block. This specially designed blade spins at 2000 revolutions per minute, shaving a micro-thin layer off the top of the block of a deep frozen product. This process is called pacotizing, a verb coined to describe the unique function of the Pacojet. Remember this word, pacotizing. I'm just choosing a random mixture in my workplace kitchen. This is a chocolate sorbet which already has been frozen and is hard. A machine like this would easily cost around 4,000 to 6,000 pounds. When I started in the kitchen many years ago, all they had was buttons, but now they have a touchscreen and many updated features. Switch it on, and it's a simple process of just selecting the function. The arrow will tell you the direction of the blade and the levels it will shave. This whole process takes about 5 minutes to get super smooth gelato, ice cream or sorbets. Give it a little tap, and out comes the product. It is super soft and ready to eat right now. In the real world, I would spin the product just before the start of service and put it back in the freezer. And by the time service starts for the dessert section, which is usually about 45 minutes later, the product is at the right consistency to scoop and form quenelles or balls. There goes the small kitchen tour of where I work. Now, first and foremost, I have to make an honorable mention to my great Italian friend who gifted me this next machine. He got me the Ninja Creami. Thank you very much, Andrea. This is a forewarning because I've had so much ice cream and gelato in the meantime. I think he's trying to make me fatter. The Ninja Creami is a domestic machine at a much more affordable fee at about £200 compared to the 4,000 to 6,000 pound Pacojet. The concept is almost identical, except this is for home and casual use. These freezing tubs looked and feel almost similar, except these are in plastic. They also give you a recommended max fill line to fill whatever you want into it. This is a better way to visualize the cross-section of both the Pacojet and Ninja Creami. I like how one brand promotes the word pacotize, remember from before? And another brand promotes creamify technology. Don't we all just love trademarking rights? Anyway, some light research into the rotation of the blade of the Ninja Creami shows from other people testing it out that the gelato setting is at 1,250 rotations per minute. And when the blade comes up, it is at a much lower speed at about 450 rotations per minute. When you get a Ninja Creami, they also provide you with a guidebook that contains recipes. We are in luck because they have a coffee gelato recipe, and so I was naturally curious because I was doing a coffee project recently. If you are curious about the project, there is a link for that project on the top right corner. The recipe from the book is very simple and very straightforward. It's a can't go wrong type recipe. Let's begin by making it. I'm doubling the recipe from the book. The first thing you will need is egg yolks. And I got the best from my local supermarket. Free-range eggs with a great 1-star taste. We need happy chickens to make a great tasting product. We will need 6 yolks. Separate the whites and save it for something else like meringues or an egg white omelette, and to eat healthily with all the gelato about to follow. Once you have gotten the 6 yolks, measure out 160 grams of caster sugar. Give that a good whisking. Next on the list is whipping cream with a 39.5% fat. Measure out 400 grams in a medium pot. Then comes the milk. You will need whole milk. The fattier, the better. This contains 4.8%. Measure out 340 grams of whole milk into the same pot. Bring the pot over to the stove and bring it to boil. Once it has boiled, take it off the heat. In the meantime, measure out 8 grams of instant coffee. I am using Nescafe Gold. I am using a micro scale to be precise. The last thing you will need for this recipe is some salt. I'm going to use some Maldon Sea Salt to help in the balancing of flavors, and also because the recipe book recommended it. The recipe says 2 pinches, so here we are. Now, while the milk and cream mixture is still hot, pour in the coffee and salt mixture. Give that a good mixing, and now we can temper the eggs and sugar mixture. Pour some mixture in and give that a good mixing. Pour some more in and then mix some more. Pour the mixture back into the main pot, and then we're going to bring it back to the heat. You will need a thermometer for the next part. The recipe says to bring it to 79 degrees Celsius, but I am going to take it to 84 degrees Celsius. That is what I normally cook my custards to, and this is no different. This is basically a coffee custard. Once it has reached the desired temperature, take it off from the heat, pour it over a fine sieve into a bowl. The sieve is just a precaution method to catching any lumps. Because we were stirring and we kept to a good temperature, there were no lumps and only bubbles. Now that we have a smooth coffee custard, we need to chill it down to a good temperature of less than 10 degrees Celsius. The cooler the better. Don't ever put hot liquid into the canisters and then into the freezer. The cooling down of the custard helps to mature the mixture and prevent it from splitting. We're going with the old school method of an ice bath. Keep stirring it and in no time the temperature will drop. I am a little impatient and I want to try it. That is delicious. And now I can't wait for it to freeze. I always like to do the spoon test and draw a line to check the thickness. This is now at about 10 degrees and slightly under. We can now pour the mixture into the canisters. Just remember the max fill line. I will be pouring the mixture just about 1 finger below the max fill line. This will help in the end product, and I speak from experience. Place the lid on and make some labels. This will help, most especially if you're going to make more than one flavor. Place them in your freezer and now have some patience. Say goodnight to these little guys and we'll have to come back tomorrow for them. Now, time to show off a little. I really have a passion for gelato, ice cream and frozen treats. About 14 years ago in 2010, I managed to go to Bologna in Italy for 1 week to study gelato making at Carpigiani headquarters. Carpigiani are basically the Rolls-Royce of ice cream / gelato machine makers in the world. There is nothing like gelato straight from the heart of Italy. I had the pleasure of learning from a great and wonderfully passionate instructor by the name of Luciano Ferrari. He sadly mentioned that he had no relation to the Ferrari family. I was lucky enough to walk away with one of his books. Such a book is my Bible when it comes to making gelato / ice cream, even at my workplace sometimes. Funny enough, in this book, I also managed to find a recipe for authentic Italian coffee gelato. And in order to make this, we will have to make a gelato mix. I will be making a 6% butterfat gelato mix. Those are some large quantities, too much for me to handle at home. So I will be dividing the recipe by 6. Start by pouring the same kind of full-fat milk into a pot. We need 1,185 grams. Next comes the whipping cream at 170 grams. After that on the list is corn syrup. This comes with a hint of vanilla. So that is also a plus point because coffee and vanilla are good friends. We will need 56 grams of corn syrup. Place the pot to one side for now. So, now comes the dry ingredients. Take a small bowl and we're going to mix all of the dry ingredients together. Pour 225 grams of caster sugar in. The next ingredient is skim milk powder. We will also need 56 grams of this. The next and last ingredient that is needed in making the base is gelato stabilizer and emulsifier. I have over here an industry standard company that supplies these stabilizers. It is a company called Louis Francois. I have 2 types here. Stab 2000, which is a special stabilizing agent for ice cream with a recommended dosage of 2 to 5 grams per mixture. And over here, Super Neutros. which is a special stabilizing agent for sorbets and ice creams, which also has a recommended dosage of 2 to 5 grams per kilo. Both have very similar ingredients such as glucose powder, locust bean gum, alginate, and carrageenan. They both stabilize the aqueous structure of the mix, avoiding the formation of ice crystals. It also increases viscosity, air incorporation, texture, and smoothness. They are not cheap, but if you take ice cream, sorbet, and gelato seriously, then it is worth getting. They are about £80 per container. For such a powerful product, you will need a micro scale. I will be using Stab 2000 for a rich gelato. I would normally use Super Neutros for a fruit-based ice cream. As for the calculated recipe, I will need 8.3 grams of stabilizer for this recipe. Mix the stabilizer into the sugar and milk powder mixture. Doing this will help in preventing it from clumping when mixing it with the liquids. Give that a good mixing. Next, we will need to hydrate the stabilizer. So, pour slowly or sprinkle in the dry ingredients into the milk and cream mixture. Once everything has been mixed properly, bring the pot to the stove and heat it up. The time it takes for the pot to heat up, the stabilizer would have been hydrated and ready. We want to bring the mixture to 85 degrees Celsius and above. This will help in dissolving the corn syrup, sugar, and milk powder, and at the same time activating the stabilizer. Take the pot over, and you can sieve the mixture just as a precaution with a fine sieve. There you go. Little to no lumps, and we are going to chill down the mixture now. Same as before, we need to bring down the temperature of the mixture to this time below 4 degrees Celsius. And we also want to age it for about 4 hours. Get lots of ice and water. We are making an ice bath again. Within minutes, it has dropped to about 36 degrees Celsius. Within the hour, it is now at 5.6 degrees Celsius. I'm going to wrap it up now and place it in the fridge for at least 4 hours to age. Come back after 4 hours. Let's check after 4 hours. The mixture is well below 4 degrees Celsius. It also appears thicker, as I can draw a line on my spatula. Now, since the mixture is ready, I have calculated based on the coffee gelato recipe from the book that I will need 89.3 grams of coffee paste. This coffee paste is homemade. If you would like to make your own coffee paste, you can follow a link on the top right corner. Pour that in, and I'm going to emulsify the mixture with a hand blender. Let's try this. Damn, that is quite punchy, and I can't wait for this to become gelato. Same as before, I'm going to fill the canisters about 1 finger below the max fill line. Label it to know which is which. Let's say goodnight to these babies, and we shall come back tomorrow. The next day, I shall spin or creamify, like their trademark name, the Ninja Creami, the coffee gelato recipe. The mixture is a solid block. It takes about 5 minutes to make it happen. As you can see here, the blade is coming down. The color is a dark beige. It looks pretty smooth. I am just going to show you the texture of the Ninja Creami coffee gelato recipe. It's gelato tasting time with my wife, Jess.
Remind me which one this one is.
This is the Ninja.
The Ninja Creami. Okay. Very creamy. I really like that. It's very creamy. It's very sweet. Almost like sticky.
Smooth?
Smooth. But sticky in a flavour, which is weird. Maybe it reminds me of sticky toffee pudding.
Oh yes, yes.
That's why.
Like a toffee sauce, but it's coffee.
Yes.
Does it taste clean?
It stays in the mouth.
Any bitter notes?
No, no bitterness at all.
Making you want to go back for more?
Yes.
Cool.
I'll be taking this now.
So that's a good success. Okay. There's another one to try.
Okay.
Okay? Just remember the texture and taste.
Yeah.
Okay? Now comes the coffee gelato from the book. Similar in process, with this solid mixture, we are going to, with the same name, creamify it with the gelato setting. This is how the end product texture looks like. This one looks lighter than the one before. It looks very smooth, and I forgot to show off my quenelle skills with the first one, but here it is with the second one. This is the gelato recipe.
It's thicker. I can instantly feel that.
More body.
It's funny because it's both coffee ice cream, but it's so different. This has a lot more bitterness to it. It's more, I think, authentic coffee. Like when I was at a dig site in Italy, we'd often have an espresso, and it tastes like an Italian espresso.
So it's more character.
Yeah, a lot more character. I think my parents would like this one more.
So it's gelato for old people.
Are you calling my parents old?
Well-aged people.
My mom's gonna watch this.
We won't serve her this. But would you say there is a good amount of bitterness to it?
Yeah, a good amount. It's less sweet.
Okay.
I think if you were going to serve this to children, I don't think they'd like it.
I don't think children should be having coffee anyways. But how's the texture? Is it equally as creamy? Sticky?
No. And I would say that's cleaner in the mouth feel.
This is cleaner.
Yeah. In the texture wise, that stays in your mouth less, the texture, but the flavour is much more bold. This one.
Is it making you want to go back for more?
Completely honestly, not as much as the other one, but that's because I have a real sweet tooth. So I'm gravitating more towards the sweeter one. But as I said, I think my mom would love that.
So just to finalize the comparison, how would you rate the first one out of 10?
Probably like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, that's fair enough, that's good.
Just because coffee ice cream isn't my favourite kind of ice cream. And I think I quite enjoy ice cream when it's like layered with something else. So I think if you took that and layered it through with, I don't know, some kind of chocolate or something, that would bring a little more zazz to it.
So she's looking for zazz. Now, what about the ratings on the second one?
I feel kind of bad because I know this is like the gourmet fancier one, but I will say I think I'd give this one a 7. I'm not sure if it's because the other one is specifically made for the Ninja Creami, so it feels creamier and because it's sweeter, but yeah, I'd probably give this one a 7 just because it's not quite as enjoyable for my palate. But I am still a child at heart.
That's acceptable. The best part is that it reminded you of your time in Italy.
Yeah, that one definitely did.
Italian gelato. Well, there you have it, guys. An honest comparison between two recipes with two different results. Both were a success for their own reasons. If you have enjoyed what you have watched, please hit that like button, leave a comment and subscribe for more food related content. Until next time, it was a pleasure having you with us during this gelato adventure. Bye for now. And by the way, she went back for more.